that the only way through is to go through that pain, because the most uncomfortable, actually, in my experience, is the resistance of the pain. That's what is causing the most struggle, the most discomfort. And it's the most unpleasurable feeling ever. But when you do surrender to pain fully, you just collapse. It doesn't last that long, actually. It really breaks you, and then something shifts and something changes, and you're still sad, but there is a light of hope, and you can see that that you're okay.
You start to heal.
Yeah, and you feel this nostalgia, that often starts to be translated into something creative, and you start to express this pain. And that's when the healing process starts.
Welcome to the Global Affair podcast, brought to you by Love Out Loud, the world's largest love-based movement actualizing a civilization of love by 2030. My name's Nicole Gibson, and join me and some of the world's brightest minds as we bring some of the most important and controversial conversations of our time into a space of unity. It's important to know that as your host, this isn't about my personal opinion or bias, but rather an opportunity to listen with love, honesty, curiosity, and reveal the true universal experience us humans have amongst the differences. So if you love the show, please let us know by giving us a rating and tell us how to make this conversation easier for other people to jump into as well. And with that, let's get it. Dorota, welcome to the Global Affair podcast. I'm so excited to share you with our amazing community and listeners. For those of you that are new to the Global Affair podcast, this is a space where we have the most important conversations of our time through a lens of unity and love. And I couldn't think of an individual that's more suited to have this conversation on transformation, recreating yourself in a time where so many people feel alone and so many people are struggling and so many people are hurting. Transformation is really what the doctor ordered, I think, on so many levels. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel very grateful to be here, and I feel this is going to be a very special conversation. And I think that there is really so much to say and to share. And I really look forward to see what wants to come through us and be said.
Amen to that. So let's begin by the message in your book, Recreating Yourself, because I think that's an incredible starting point. And I know you've had a journey, as most authors and teachers have, to find this philosophy of life that really is now going on to touch and transform the lives of others. Usually we've had to go through that journey ourselves first. So what was the journey of recreating yourself?
So when you look at my book, the re is actually disappearing, and what I really tried to say was create yourself. But in order to create yourself, you need to let go of absolutely everything you consider about yourself, all the frames, all the definitions, your own opinion, your own beliefs, and that's the hardest process. And so in my case, I constructed very carefully designed image of myself. That was my protection from the world. I wasn't carrying one mask. I was carrying plenty of masks, each one for different occasion, and I really lost touch with that divine part within myself. I had a certain opinion about who I was and who I wasn't, about what I was capable of, and where my path was leading me. And I just was struggling so much with life. I was, bullied since I was little. I had a violent childhood. I had a heart disease, heart operation, and incurable autoimmune disease. I was constantly facing rejection, betrayal. And at some point you just have enough, you have enough of life. And I remember that one place, one specific turning point, because I do believe that this human journey is about becoming. It's about constantly becoming. It's about changing momentarily. It's about transforming yourself day by day and never, locking yourself in any any sort of fixed idea of yourself, right? And so if that happens, if you have that fixed idea, life will do things to break it, to break your form, not to cause you pain, but to liberate you so that you can truly remind yourself who you are. And so I was always very intuitive. So I was very sneaky with avoiding problems, with avoiding hurt. And so life had to be very, smart with how it designed to get me into that breaking point. And no physical condition made it. I was very still fixed in what I was and who I was and where I was going. No betrayal, no rejection until actually it was through a relationship. That is my, the weakest probably point in which you can really put me like.
A lover of love.
Right. And so after, all this struggle, years of physical, very, very physical pain, I went through this hard breakup and I was in, northern Laos. My boyfriend told me he didn't love me anymore. And it was just too much of everything. And I had this literally conversation with the universe, screaming at the universe, saying, enough, have it your way. You won. I'm done here. If this is what you choose for me, so be it. If I'm supposed to be sick for the rest of my life, so be it. If I'm supposed to be alone, so be it. And I just really, really collapsed. And that pushed me to fully surrender. So there was no more resistance within me to receive whatever life actually wanted to give me for a longer time. And so within 2 weeks, I end up in a Buddhist monastery in northern Thailand. And from zero, I started to meditate 7 hours per day, and my whole perception of this world changed. I discovered the power of love and the power of gratitude. I discovered that the gratitude only works when it's not selective, when it's not conditional. That I will be grateful for the good stuff, but I won't be grateful for the bad stuff. So I started to be grateful for everything, including my own disease. And that gratitude created such a powerful energy of love within my body, physical body, because it integrated the disease I hated for so long, that I was separated from. So actually my subconscious mind couldn't initiate the healing process. And so that created this integration of all of my parts. And within 2 weeks, I was healed. And I haven't taken any medication since 11 years for that disease now. That is, considered incurable. And I ask myself, what else I am capable of? What else love and gratitude is capable of? What else is that I don't know? And so I created that philosophy that I don't want to know who I am. I want to wake up every day and commit to discover myself more and more, all the aspects of myself, the good and the bad one, and love them equally, because the bad stuff allow you to create the good stuff. It creates enough of context and comparison for the good stuff to be even recognized. And so that was the beginning of the journey. 11 years ago. And that's where that's when I started to write the book. And it took quite a few years to write.
Yeah, to go through all of the chapters thereafter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please.
I was going to just go back to your point on gratitude, because I think this is a really important point that's often missed. I reflect when I think about people with their gratitude practice and why we've become so removed actually from gratitude, and think back to, some of the things that most of us have experienced in our childhood, which is kind of this conditional gratitude of like, you have to eat your vegetables because, there are kids that are starving in the world, and, the gratitude sort of forced upon us rather than something that emerges naturally in that joyous state of appreciation.
Absolutely.
And, I'd love to just hear you reflect more deeply on that when you started to awaken to what gratitude really is by nature, which is such an abundant state. My personal belief around this is until we can be grateful for what we have, there's no way that we can sustain what we have, and there's definitely no way we can create more than what we have. So gratitude is kind of that baseline of creation on so many levels.
Absolutely. And it's a healing tool. And it's probably the most powerful transformational tool I know, because you can't feel resentment and gratitude at the same time. You can't feel judgment and gratitude at the same time. You know, you can't be critical towards yourself and others when you feel gratitude. But what we got used to is that fake practice of gratitude. It's like, oh my God, I'm grateful for today. What are the positive aspects I've created? And that is actually false gratitude. And the feeling vibration you create is very false. And what creates the biggest difference, and I'm still discovering that because it's really never ending practice, is that in every situation that you encounter in your life, there are hidden gifts. Absolutely every. There is no bad experience that happens to you without carrying some miracles within, right? And so only if you can get yourself to the gratitude feeling about those negative experiences, only then you can extract the true gifts. And I realized, being grateful for experiencing pain and learning about pain. I mean, can you be grateful for that? Being grateful for experiencing betrayal and learning about betrayal. So I can then transcend into trust, right? And so I realized how many people and situations I had that I was still holding that resentment towards. And I literally sat down with every single situation and understood, if I'm not feeling grateful for it, it means I didn't get it. I didn't understand what was the gift in it. And I was literally going one by one, extracting, forcing my mind to understand what is that I've learned, what is that I received here. And sometimes it wasn't what my mind would consider, an aspect I should be grateful for. And yet it was something that was so valuable to learn about, right? So I've learned about pain. I've learned about betrayal. I've learned about rejection. I've experienced all of the forms of that. And I started to be grateful for it because it allowed me, it created enough of substance for me to connect to self-love, to connect to gratitude, to connect to real confidence, real trust in life and in myself, right? And so this practice is the most beautiful and fundamental practice you can do in your life. If you can be grateful for your own pain, I mean, I don't know if there is something more beautiful, because if you realize that your pain allows you, if you really go and dive deep within your pain, the scale, it will allow you to create the exact opposite of that pain on the other side. And so if you extend that scale more and more and more and more, your entire experience of this life will expand, and you will go deeper and deeper and deeper. But you will have to go deeper on both sides. Unfortunately, we don't get at the place in life when we are just endlessly happy. And there is nothing bad that comes our way. It's impossible, because this life is about transforming and becoming. And so life will put us in the circumstances where we will still need to go through painful situations. But if we realize that these are gifts to get us, to free us, first of all, from all that is still left and trapped within us, all the fears and grievances that are still trapped within us, then we approach every experience very differently. And if you can approach every experience with gratitude from the beginning, that's power. Whenever I get sick, the first thing I feel is gratitude, because I'm trusting my body. My body is designed to cure itself from no matter what. So if my body is creating a disease, it's also to heal myself from something else I might not even be able to understand on a conscious level, but it is eliminating some sort of energy through that disease that is creating blockages within my body on energetic level. And so I'm thankful to my body. Thank you so much for creating it, because I was not able to release that energy consciously. And so go on, eliminate, I surrender. And the more you surrender, the quicker you heal, and the quicker the process can happen of healing you. And so, if you can look at with that attitude towards every experience, I say to life with open arms, break me, because I know what that means. when you break something, you free something. I changed my perception of what it meant to have a broken heart. I literally redesigned it in my mind. And so now it became a beautiful experience, even though it's painful. Pain can be beautiful, and it's really reprogramming yourself and opening up to all the aspects of life and to all the aspects of yourself. I don't look to just be in a certain way anymore or just be happy. I just look into experience whatever is there to experience with an open arms and be in acceptance. And that's pretty much it.
There's so many threads in there. Just on that last point, balancing this state of beingness with ambition, things that you want to create, things that you want to achieve. Talk us through that.
It's very interesting because there is a lot I want to achieve. My mind wants to achieve. And every time I truly want something, I try to make a clear difference between, is it my mind desire or is it my heart desire? Because these are very different. Mind desires, most of the time, have this, first of all, they are fear-based. You want something because you are lacking something within yourself, right? And so, and these are very specific ideas you have created for yourself, illusions over time, to get into a certain feeling, right? Heart desires are very different. They don't give you a specific image of your desire. They are just impulses that are leading you towards right people, right situation, right circumstances that will then create miracles and possibilities beyond your imagination, because your mind is your greatest limit. You can't imagine what you don't know. You can't imagine what is not familiar to you, right? And so we craft how creativity works, which is what I teach and what I've been coaching for many years. It blends everything that was ever seen, heard, experienced, and to create something new. And so if you come up with certain ideas with your mind, it will be always based on your experiences from your past. And so what I try to practice is not to frame myself in any sort of desire crafted by my mind, but really stay connected within full alignment with my intuition and my higher self, to let myself be guided to opportunities and people and situations and places that then show me how life wants to use my skills and my gifts and my wisdom for the greatest good of everyone. And this is what I sort of, said to the universe back 11 years ago. I said, I can't possibly know what would be the best way for my gifts to manifest themselves, because I don't even really know what my gifts are. So go on, take my life and just show me. And it's been the most incredible journey of my life, and situation and places I've never thought I would. I couldn't possibly, it wouldn't be possible to come up with it.
No, we can't even imagine it.
You can't, right?
The universe has wilder plans for us.
Totally. So, I do work on a transformational center in Bali. I am working on a second book. I work on some transformational movies ideas. And these are happening. But if someone takes those projects from me tomorrow, I will be like, okay, no problem. What else? This was not meant to be. So it's very fluid, and it's really, I listen. I learn to listen, because intuition is also, when you choose and truly are guided by your intuition, life is responding. Life will show you. If it's yes, it's going to be easy. It's not supposed to be difficult. You will find the support, and you will be guided in the exactly right way. If it's no, and you're trying to do something because, you are fixed on one idea, you're possibly not seeing plenty of other open doors around you. So probably very different answer to the one you're expecting, but that's how my life looks like.
It's perfect, because I think as a world, as a society where we're going through, there's an opportunity for us, if we take it, enough of us take it, to really transform our world right now. With, from 2020 to now, the amount of change that every single human really on the planet in one way or another has been exposed to, it's put us into this, state of liminality and suggestibility. And that can go, one of two ways, I suppose. And one of the things that really was front of mind for me during the pandemic was, this is proof that a whole entire population can actually focus on a single idea. And imagine if that idea was something like love or compassion or gratitude, how quickly we could transform.
Absolutely.
How we could transform our planet. And there are yet so many people, I was reading the latest statistics on mental health, and 50% of men in the Western world are thinking about taking their life. 90% of people in the Western world feel lonely every day. This is a real crisis. And when people go to sit with their pain, I think, for many people hearing that, who are in that perpetual state of loneliness, perpetual state of pain, are probably thinking like, well, I don't need to sit with my pain. Like, I'm feeling my pain all day, every day. I need relief from my pain. But there's a nuance here that I think is really important to understand. Like Rumi said, the cure for the pain is in the pain. The only way out is through. To really break this down, for someone that's listening to this and thinking, I want to let life breathe me like this. I want to surrender to life. I'm sick of the heaviness of having to hold it all and control everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And couldn't agree more that the only way through is to go through that pain, because the most uncomfortable, actually, in my experience, is the resistance of the pain. That's what is causing the most struggle, the most discomfort, and it's the most unpleasurable feeling ever. But when you do surrender to pain fully, you just collapse. It doesn't last that long, actually. It really breaks you, and then something shifts and something changes, and you're still sad, but there is a light of hope, and you can see that you're okay.
Start to heal.
Yeah, and you feel this nostalgia, that often starts to be translated into something creative, and you start to express this pain. And that's when the healing process starts. When you're on the other side, you start to let it out through some sort of expression. And, we spoke before, both of us have a friend who committed suicide this week. In my case, this was a very, very close friend of mine, and it was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. It's a sixth person from my life who was taken, who died because of the suicide. And I know that this decision wasn't taken the day before. Oftentimes it's there for a long, long time, and people get fixed because they see suicide as some sort of relief. But everyone, and I think it's important to share it, everyone has a karma on this planet and a certain path that we are supposed to accomplish. And if that gets, if we stop that path in the middle, we often actually get stuck. And this is what is the most heartbreaking for me. And so I would say that really there is a light. There are so many tools and so many practices and so much you can do to get help and to shift that state, that I would just say, if anyone is listening who is having this kind of thoughts, know that all of us oftentimes think, I don't want to be here anymore. This is too much for me, right? But if if we would just trust a little bit more and really surrender and just give up and just see what life would do, most of the time life would really, really do something magical and miraculous to help us. This I'm certain of. And I would love to hear your experience on this.
Oh, it's such a deep topic, and I think it's a topic with relevance that's quite difficult to comprehend at this time, because what I mean by that is I think so many people are feeling a version of death in one way or another. And I guess my message is that there's a reason for that. One of the things in my early years of working that I studied very, very, very deeply, because I started to see this correlation in mental health statistics, the loudest being 85% of adults that struggle with mental health challenges. Those challenges first manifested in the adolescent years. And to me, that was a giant arrow back to these these years in our life with the question, well, what are we doing wrong? And what I discovered on that journey societally is we have no rite of passage that's properly facilitated, no proper initiation process that allows us into adulthood, which is the first major transformation we go through. So that is a huge framing, if not the framing, of how we relate to change. And in the absence of those proper initiations and rites of passage, we then go and seek it, but we'll seek it in often very destructive ways. In the case of a coming of age, it's most likely going to be peer led. So you've got kind of the blind leading the blind. Your friend that's also a kid doesn't know how to be an adult. And then that's where it kind of leads itself. And I think, spiritual teachers and gurus will say the reason it's important to have a teacher, the reason it's important to have a guru is because it's very difficult to go somewhere you've never been. It's very difficult to find the door when you're in the dark. And I think that craving to be guided, I write in my next book that there's a God-shaped hole inside every human being that's going to be filled with something. So be very careful what you fill that with, because if you start filling that with yourself or with substances or, whatever it is, that becomes the way that you deal when you're ultimately needing a transcendent experience of some kind. That's what we're craving. We're craving that transformation. And I think as a world right now, there's a deep, deep, very real need for transformation to be initiated into a new way. Every system is going through it or about to go through it. Every human, as a consequence of that, is feeling it. We're kind of in this very auspicious time where society is about to change rapidly for numerous reasons, which we've spoken about on this podcast. But I think it's important that people hear an acknowledgement of the depth that's actually required in order for that to really happen. And I think in our world, and for someone that's feeling that depth of despair, I certainly have in my journey at different points, it's a feeling of such deep disconnection. It's a feeling where you sense that no one is present with you. And
no one understands you.
Yeah. And it's a very unnatural thing to feel as a human being. We're meant to be surrounded by community and tribe. So to first and foremost acknowledge that, I think being able to identify that what you might really be craving is this deep transformation, this experience of transcendence that allows you to literally rise above those feelings, that the solution is actually in presence, to become more alive with life, even if that means to be more alive with your pain. And you might be hearing that thinking, I can't be more alive than I am right now, in terms of like, I'm at the absolute capacity of the pain I'm feeling. There is this invitation in that to go to that place that Dorota is speaking to, of surrender, where you then relinquish the reins of control. And there's something greater actually that will start to breathe you and knows, where to take you, knows how to make that pain become purpose and a story that really can, if you let it, put you on the path of something really brilliant, something really, really brilliant. Just like you're talking about the opposite spectrum. When we've gone to that darkness, we have the capacity to be equally as light. And I know, my friend, light would be the word that I would use to describe him. He had so much light. And I think it's often those souls that deal with the depth of darkness, with that sensitivity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And, I love this analogy that seeds can only be replanted in the darkness, and we are like those seeds, we have to be buried in the darkness to be replanted. And yet, I want to also put in attention on another aspect that is so important to just be aware of, that it's not always psychological, like depression and really low mood and really feeling completely lost and down and uncomfortable. It's not purely psychological. It doesn't have to be, it might be that there is something actually not balanced within your body, your hormonal state, your gut. There's so many aspects can influence directly how you feel. And before, we go into conclusions, we really need to balance that as well. We need to check. We need to look, because sometimes fixing one simple thing, my person I know had a one vitamin deficiency in her body and had a suicidal thoughts that she was literally planning, to take her own life. And by fixing that, doctor realized that, and by fixing that, she, gain a normal life. So these are real problems that needs to be really verified before we even call something, psychological depression and all of that. We have to look at ourselves as not just body, mind, or spirit, but as a whole, and check and take care of every aspect of who we are. But I can really relate to, for me, my lowest states, it's really feeling absolutely lonely. And it's interesting because it's the very opposite to what I teach, which is non-dualistic connection to everything, state. So life when I get high, I get naturally high, just to clarify. Through meditation, I get properly high. I have tears of joy and gratitude. These are states like compared to, MDMA, but completely natural. But when I get low, I get really low, and I have that capacity, and I know that this will never end, and I will get those moments forever. And I'm not trying to get rid of them. I'm just understanding that this allows me to also experience that. And I think what is important, that in between you get yourself to that neutral state, to that peaceful state, when there isn't as much peaks and you are not looking for the peaks anymore. And so there are not so many lows. You are sort of looking with everything just neutrally. And I there are so many of us who are absolutely addicted to dopamine, addicted to cortisol, looking for high peak experiences, flow states, and psychedelics and extreme sports and this and that. Even transformation is addictive because it gets you that high state. And it's not healthy, because if your motivation is to constantly be happy and be high and get that dopamine kick, it's another addiction, and real life is in between those moments, it's in the presence, like you said. It's that presence that it doesn't matter what you do, where you are, if you can be truly present, it's the most beautiful state you can give yourself.
Yes.
Undescribable. It's neither happiness, neither sadness. It's nothing. It's just being. It just is. And I think that's the key to everything, actually. Yeah.
It's the biggest gift to ourselves, and it's the biggest gift to those around us.
Absolutely.
We cannot quantify the impact of being with someone. And I think that that's the biggest shift that maybe needs to happen in people's understanding of supporting, mental health, and really just each other. It's beyond mental health. It's just humanity, being with each other's humanity.
Yeah.
Is we can never know the impact that simply just being willing to be there, no matter what someone might be journeying and experiencing. And the question I think that we need to be asking in that is, well, why is it hard to be with my friend when they're going through a difficult time more than it is when they're going through a great time in their life? And it's pointing the arrow back to us, where we still have a discomfort, a resistance of things that we don't want to feel, probably a rejection of ourselves. And what happens as a result of that is we end up pushing others away, avoiding, and ultimately, dehumanizing. And what I mean is that it's like rejecting the humanity that's around us, but it leaves us feeling equally disconnected and lonely, even if we're not conscious of that, because we're distracted and we're busy. And when I look at the world right now, this is the very thing that we need to really address. Is when we increase our emotional capacity, which you've said in different ways through this entire episode, when we totally and radically accept, the fullness of our experience, being there for others is no longer an effort. Your presence is just there. is just there. And I think that it's the greatest gift we give to ourselves. It's the greatest gift we can give to our families and our friends, our teams. And it really is unquantifiable. And I would really encourage everyone to look at that.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love that because it's so simple, but it really is such a beautiful mirror, when you can ask yourself, am I comfortable, in some situation and really uncomfortable in other situation? And why is that? Am I selective with my experience of life? What am I judging exactly, and what are my preferences? And this will point us directly to often what is our, shadows, and where there is this association and what we've been avoiding within ourselves. And if we can cuddle those parts of ourselves and bring some attention and presence to that, then we heal. We truly heal. But first we need to realize that there is something to look at. And oftentimes, unfortunately, we stick to that one illusion of ourselves, and that creates this cognitive dissonance that we think one thing about ourselves, but we operate for something completely different, unable to see. And that's why it's so important to look how our world really is created externally, because that points out to so many things inside of us.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I've loved this.
Me too.
And I'm sure it's hit home for those listening. And I'd love you to be able to share how they can connect with your work. On socials, or where they can buy your book. Obviously, we will link as well, so check out the show notes. Yes.
So Amazon, and there's so many stores selling the book. The book is called Recreate Yourself. It's a very practical book with plenty of different exercises that can really, really help you to start on your transformational journey and to heal. And it's kind of a book which you can open at any page and there will be some message for you. I also organize lots of beautiful events, transformational events and retreats. And there are 3 different events coming up this year. And one is with you, Nicole. So I'm very excited about that. Yes. And you guys can read all of the information about those on my website. All the links are there. And yes, don't hesitate. If you have any question, if you seek help, I really try to help people in many different shapes or forms, and this is my life mission. So never, ever hesitate to reach out. We always care about everyone, and I think this is the most important to say.
Let's announce our exciting retreat coming up.
All right, let's do it. Austria, September. The exact dates are, if I'm not mistaken,
12 to 18, I believe.
12 to 18, brilliant, much better student than me.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in a gorgeous place in Austrian Alps, when we will be surrounded by gorgeous mountains, doing some fun activities, including zip lining and hiking and ice baths and saunas. But the main, I think, cherry on about this retreat is that every day you will go through deep spiritual and psychological transformational work. We've created a beautiful masterminds and processes that will truly help you to realize and to connect to the source of who you truly are.
I'm so excited for this event and to be facilitating this with you. And if you're listening to this, if there's aspects of this episode that you've listened to and you've been like, wow, I really resonate with this, like it's speaking to an experience I'm having in my life, we really encourage you to consider coming and joining us in this beautiful location where we get to share this depth of transformation, knowledge, intimacy, to really have this be something that would be the first of many steps.
Absolutely.
That put you on a different journey. So we'll link also where to apply for that retreat on Dorota's website in the show notes. And of course, you can reach out to me or the Love Out Loud team to get more details about that as well. Yeah, but we're looking forward to seeing you there. Sorry, you go.
It would be amazing. I mean, I'm so excited for it because I know us working together, it's magic, but I also know how powerful it is to just spend 6 days dedicated to yourself and your healing journey without any distraction, without surrounded by people who are going through the same. It creates a container and support system that is unreplaceable, you know, and really, truly can create a massive magic on such a deep level.
Last question. Your message to the world right now, when you think about all of the global affairs that we're dealing with, what's the one takeaway that the listeners from this episode can be with, action, think about to contribute to actualizing a civilization of love?
Yeah, I feel that this is so simple and so hard at the same time, but I would say truly practice and learn to listen to your heart and act from your heart. And this will have a ripple effect. This will influence everything else. And this will create more and more love around you, inside of you, and in the world. And it will guide you towards the right project and right people to spread more love and to create more transformation. So if you can only do that, be present with your heart, with the source with the divine aspect of you, and trust it enough to take all of the decision from that place. Know that whatever is good, truly good for you, and whatever decision you take that is your decision from your heart will be automatically good for other people.
Be in truth. I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, my friend. If you enjoyed the show, please let us know by leaving a review or sharing the episode with someone you love and expanding this conversation as far and wide as possible. If you're looking for a community to have conversations with about global affairs, please jump in our Telegram group or join our free think tanks. Thanks for being a part of the shift towards a love-based civilization. We'll see you in the Telegram group or in the next episode.